Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, all you critters out there in the world. It is Bingo is Life, the podcast.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
We've got the great and wonderful, powerful and inevitable Howdy Shell Brothers.
Oh, I thought you was going to introduce Oz.
Yes, well, I was trying to.
Oh, okay.
And then those guys.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, they look like they had fun at bingo.
Oh, my God.
Can't wait to hear their story.
Yeah, we have
One of them had his shirt like hanging over a pole earlier that he got down with a pool cue. So I know there's something fun going on there. So, we also have Dan Easley.
Freshwater toffee.
There he is. Special guest who we'll introduce in a bit.
Ooh.
And me.
Yeah. Who are you, me?
Hello, mums.
Hello. So you guys had a pretty rousing, rollicking game of bingo tonight, which included some cinnamon.
Yeah, our sponsor. That was part of the problem. I mean, part of the reason.
Part of the fun.
Part of the fun. Yes.
Well, maybe it was his free T-shirt that was hanging over the pool.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was red, and I saw the servers were wearing red shirts as well with Fireball.
Fireball.
Tonight we were sponsored by Fireball, and it was a blast.
It really
to give away. Anytime a sponsor rolls in with I don't know,
T-shirts
just
and
tons of T-shirts
things
and stuff. So we got to give it all away. And as you give things away, you get to make up reasons to give things away. And tonight, some of our reasons were guess our ages or sing, what's that song? Never Gonna Give You Up.
Never Gonna Give You Up.
You do that pretty frequently.
Yeah. But tonight,
it pops in there.
Tonight I was able to give away 4 different prizes on that song.
Fireball prizes.
Yeah, they were.
What is Fireball?
It's a cinnamon
whiskey.
Yeah, cinnamon whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's usually consumed by the shot or as a addition to.
We found out
an aperitif.
It's
we
good
had 3 shots tonight.
We had
an apple cider.
If you mix it with PBR.
That's right.
Oh God.
I know, right?
What's it called? What's it called?
Hold on. It's good.
It's good.
It's called the cinnamon bun.
Cinnamon bun.
And it tastes like a cinnamon bun.
No.
It's like Back to Christmas. Yes, Virginia, there is a liqueur for you.
It's called a lousy morning is what it's called.
You know what? It's a sipper.
I'm just saying it was.
I could have drank it warm.
Yeah. Over a fire.
Absolutely.
Perhaps.
It was pretty good.
I don't know. Anyways, it was a good time. Bingo was
called
great.
a morning constitutional full of regret.
It was
Fireball.
Honey, do you want some cinnamon buns for breakfast? Absolutely not.
Hey, I saw you.
You saw me
on the internet.
I was on the internet.
And you were,
That's right.
Mum Shekels, were selling costumes.
Yes, costumes.
How did that go?
We got a little manic on the live stream there this weekend at Skeleton Fest.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
How was Skeleton Fest?
Yeah, how was it?
So we were not in the part where the stuff was happening, which we discovered. I think, so Skeleton Fest is an annual celebration that HDR, Harrisonburg Downtown Renaissance, hosts, which is kind of like a Halloween celebration. There's a lot of activities. You can feed nuts to a llama or something. There's, the stores open up and give up candy. There's a lot of trick-or-treating, and there are like 3 costume contests where I think kids, groups, and dogs. Apparently the dogs one got a little heated this weekend, which was some interesting storytelling there from some of our counterparts at HDR. And
who hosted it?
It was the donors, the people that like sponsored and donated,
cool.
Whoever they were. I don't know. I didn't really read the bottom of any of the flyers.
Chris, you hosted it, what, two years in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did it 2 years in a row. It was, I felt like I was like,
it was fun.
It's my gig.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Jay Zare does it one year.
And then they stop asking people to do it.
And I asked Jay, I said,
we should say, Jay, sorry you're not here.
Jay, we missed you.
Oh.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, hugs out there, buddy.
All right, now back to your story about Jay taking over the...
Jay took my job, but they
Jay
didn't
taking
pay
your
Jay.
job.
Back to the llama, actually. I wanted to hear more about the llama.
I don't know if there was a llama. I'm sure that sometimes they have petting critters there.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it down to any end there because what they want to try to start to do, it seems like, is to bring in Liberty Street. into the fold, and by the way they're doing that is by having trick or treating starting at 1 on Liberty Street, and then the actual festivities of Skeleton Fest start at 2 on the square. So we were there on our Liberty Street side of Court Square at our stage door. We had a lot of extra costumes we were selling, and we were also giving out candy. I dressed up as Hagrietta and just decided to stay in character for 4 hours because I'm a psychopath. And
then live stream it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and Abby, my colleague at Court Square, wore a witch costume as well from the costume closet, and she was also a witch, and we just got really into character, and I think that's why we didn't sell anything because we scared everybody away.
Good.
Have I shared the Ogden Nash line about llamas on here before?
Meanwhile, back at Llamas,
Yeah, the Ogden Nash wrote, a one-eled llama is a priest, a two-eled llama is a beast, and I will bet a silk pajama there's no such thing as a three-eled llama.
Wow.
I think he's most known for the line, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah.
la la llama.
Hey, Dan. I think it's time for another unexpected notion.
Unexpected notion with Dan Easley in 5,
Stole it from
4, 3, 2, 1.
Encouraged by the success of now classic books like Thomas the Tank Engine, I'm writing a series of children's stories too. It's called Thomas the Public Park Toilet. Oh, the adventures he's had. Oh, the things our Thomas has seen. I'm Dan Easley.
That was another unexpected notion by Dan Easley.
That's nice, Dan. Good job.
Thomas the Public
Is it
Toilet
nice?
is
I have so much fun writing these things.
Thomas the Public Toilet is also known as the Bionic Toilet because he's had a lot of parts replaced.
Oh. Stronger, faster.
Dan, we have a guest.
Thank God.
Oh, she's been so patient.
So
We're
patient.
going to take the IQ level of this conversation up several notches.
That's a lot of pressure.
No.
No, it's we're all relieved by the prospect of it. This is Sandy Parks. Sandy is a retired school librarian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you for your service.
And you're a bit of an activist as well.
Well, I didn't expect to spend my retirement fighting book banning, but, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can we just jump straight into that?
Into book banning and what's going on?
Yeah. What the heck is going on?
Well, in Rockingham County, the school board has been taken over by Christian nationalists, and they have a very clear agenda of book banning, and they are using the obscenity, the idea of obscenity as a cover for what they're doing. And not to get too much in the weeds. Well, I'll get in the weeds because
It's fine.
what they have adopted as their definition of obscenity is absolutely ridiculous. And they picked it out of a part of the state code that actually defines what state employees can view on state computers.
Oh, interesting.
Has nothing to do with literature at all.
Sure.
But that is the definition that they have chosen to be the barrier for any book to be in any Rockingham County library. And
School library. The
School library, yeah. So they started off by immediately, when they came into office January 3rd, their very first act was to remove 57 books from a really, really, really sketchy list. There was no trace of anybody who actually complained about these books or what they actually complained about. But they immediately removed these 57 books, except for the 4 or 5 that they didn't actually own, had never been in Rockingham County schools, but they banned them for good measure anyway. And then they took another couple months to actually write a policy, although they already had a policy. And for libraries, It is, the reconsideration process is very important, and it's a way to protect both kids and parents' rights. And I taught this for 20-some years every banned book week. This is what I did for banned book week, is we talk about the process that a challenge might go through, because it is entirely possible that something could end up in a library by mistake. And when I was at Skyline, and I started Skyline, I literally ordered every book in Skyline Middle School to start off with, which was a lot of fun. And so I would talk to the kids, and I'd say, I ordered all these books. Is it possible I've made a mistake? And the kids were like, And I said, you're right. But, how do we just, how do we take a book out of a library? And I said, do you want, his parent to come in and say, this book comes out? And they're like, no. I said, do you want the principal to come in and say, this book needs to come out? And they're like, no. And so we talked about how there's a process that, and this is standard across all libraries, and Rockingham had this in place, but they tried to say they didn't. But, somebody can complain about a book, and then a committee is formed, and everybody reads the book and in its entirety. And that in its entirety is actually the really important part, because when you put something in context, and I could explain to middle school kids very easily that, and they knew, that you can pick up something that, and you might see language that you would not use with your grandmother, and they're like, and, they understand that, and they said, Miss Parks, do you know what, we heard in the hall? I'm like, but, they know how to code switch.
Right.
And they know how to put things in context. And we'd also talk about how if you find something that makes you uncomfortable, hey, put it back, get something else. There's, 20,000 books in here. You don't have to read something that makes you feel uncomfortable. But you might want that when you're in 8th grade.
Right.
And if we take it out now, then you'll never have that opportunity. So anyhow, they... so somebody makes a complaint, there's a long form that they have to fill out, and a lot of time challenges would stop with that form.
Right.
And if they did return it within 10 days, we'd form a committee, we'd all read the book, and then we'd get together, and we would talk about it within the context of community values.
When you say we would all read the book, this committee, it's made up of educators, right?
Well, there would be educators, there'd be an administrator, there would be a parent, there would be a community member. Dina Reed was often our community member, and she would call it book court. I'm going to book court.
That's awesome.
And then we've had some of the best discussions about books and the context there, and decide whether or not that book really does. And the kids understood that the purpose of that was to protect their rights, that there wasn't any one person who was making that decision. And that is what has, completely fallen apart in Rockingham County, because there are one or two people who are making that decision. They decided to create a content review committee to run these 57 books, actually 54 books because of the ones they didn't own. It is so ridiculous. So that the job of this committee, since they didn't have any evidence of what the complaint about the book actually was, they decided to run it through their sexually explicit policy. And so there is a committee of 4 parents, 1 librarian, and 2 administrators who are reading all of these books and making recommendations as to whether or not they meet this policy or not, this really restrictive policy. And then lately what the school board is doing is there's, hearing the recommendation saying, nope, we're going to remove them anyway. And so they have removed permanently, I think, about 11 books now.
Yeah, I saw I saw the list, and I was totally sad that Slaughterhouse-Five had made that list. Because when I was in high school, Jennifer Knox was my English teacher, and I can remember her, and we taught that book.
Yeah.
That was one of the books that she was like, hey, this book is great. You need to read this book, High school English. Yeah, I just
Was that your introduction to Kurt Vonnegut?
No.
You had read Kurt Vonnegut
Yeah,
before.
I had read him before. Cat's Cradle was was the first one I read. Anyways, long
Yeah,
story.
so books can really make a difference in kids' lives,
Totally.
and they need to
Absolutely.
have access to a wide variety of diverse books.
I did hear though that book got taken off that list now, though, is my understanding. Someone said to me, "Oh, well, that book's okay now because it was
It's okay. It's written by a white male. That's fine.
right."
Actually,
right.
I don't think that one has come up for review yet.
Okay. Oh, well, please, anyone who's listening to this, that book is awesome. You should go read it. Seriously, you really should.
That book had an effect on you as a kid.
Absolutely.
It-
1,000%.
How did it affect you? Did it affect your sense of morality? Did it affect your
Yeah,
sense of how to understand the world around you?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it made me,
That sounds dangerous.
you know what? It was a, so Kurt Vonnegut is a humanist. That was his,
Right.
That was his,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
his MO. And
Yeah.
he talks a little bit about that concept, and he talks about war. The book's about war, World War II. And of course it's a, sci-fi book. So there's a lot of time jumping and there's a lot of, aliens. And I mean, there's everything in that book, but at the same time, it's a book about morality. It is a book about morality.
And it makes you think.
And yeah, and it makes you think, but it's funny. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you gotta laugh.
Well, a good story told with humor can get a serious point across.
And well, there's a reason that book is taught everywhere. Too. It's a beautiful book. It's beautifully written. I don't want to just wax poetic about Slaughterhouse-Five, but when I saw that on that list, I thought, man, that sucks. I didn't recognize any other titles. But that was the only book that I was like, I can't believe that made the list. That's a great book.
Yeah.
And again, we have no idea who actually complained about the book.
Okay.
Yeah, there was just a list, and they're relying heavily on a site called Book Looks. That is a Moms for Liberty product, where they've gone through a bunch of books and they write down all the page numbers that have bad language
Sure.
or sexually explicit content,
Yeah.
and they just take it out of context.
Yeah.
Speaking of out of context, Moms for Liberty. That sounds great. Who would argue with moms and who would argue with liberty?
Well, when you put them together,
Yeah.
I feel like liberty's kind of being co-opted.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
something
I wonder
else.
what kind of liberty they're.
Well, liberty for white folks and white straight folks, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what always interested me was the I guess intent or a very intentional look at the materials that are in book form in our libraries, but not discussing what at all is available on a phone in everybody's pocket. That to me is what is like, wait a minute, why aren't we talking about that as well?
It's
It's
insane.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it is that is actually insane. But see, I just still don't. As a parent, I've got a
Yeah.
I got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and it's crazy. You're like, oh well, we're only gonna allow our kids to be on the internet, but so many hours a day. Okay, we have limits set up, but. It's amazing. I mean, they're always hitting that hour limit. They're always hitting the multiple hour. I mean, because kids live on the phone now.
We all do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know
we
we
all
all do.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I mean, it is a wild. It's like, and then you go, well, do I give them Safari? They have iPhones, so Safari is an app that would allow you to be on the internet, basically. And so we said no Safari. We're like, well, no Safari, but then.
You
Then they'll load up another browser.
I know.
Yeah, right.
It's so challenging. Everything is so challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, I also did some work with Harrisonburg, with IT and working with filters, and you learn with kids that they will find a way around whatever you set up, because that's what kids do, and it's much better to really face the problem head on and not try to set up barriers, but keep them engaged to where there's not time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So there is a nice end to this tale. My 15-year-old is in marching band, and I would say marching band is a time-consuming event. I mean, there's no joke. 4 days a week, they are practicing plus weekends they are performing, and then Friday nights they have a football game, and he's doing music, and he's busy. And so when I
Both
look
hands
at,
busy
yeah,
drumming.
when you look at his, because you can look at how much time he spent on his phone. It went down dramatically once he started being in marching band because he's just too busy.
Yeah.
Congratulations, he's too busy.
But
Felt it.
if we take away materials that are, books that are interesting and relevant to kids, then that's what we leave them with is their phone.
Right.
If we can provide a wide variety of books that really hit them, will make that impression that helps them see themselves or see others in books. But we're taking those are being taken away.
Yeah. So we both went to Ottobine Elementary School.
Oh, my kids went to Ottobine too.
Yeah. I miss Barry.
Yeah, Miss Barry.
So
Kindergarten.
You say we both, you're referring to
My brother. Yeah. Sorry. So there was a book there, and I've talked about it before, and I'll mention it again. But it was in our little library. It was a book called "Cross Your Fingers, Spit in Your Hat."
Yeah.
And it was a book of spells.
Oh.
And I'm not making any of this up. And one of the spells was read the Lord's Prayer backwards. I'm not making that up, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
That was like in the classroom library.
Yeah, it was classroom.
Oh,
was-
I'm totally going to ask my kids about this.
and it was.
Is it still there, Ottobine?
I don't know, Ottobine, but it got me. I mean, it got him.
Yeah.
And he was the one that told me about it. He's
Hey,
like,
that this reading stuff is pretty cool. You,
got
can
it,
actually
right?
learn
Ooh,
stuff.
you gotta
This is
find. You
interesting.
gotta find. Cross your fingers, spit in your
Yeah, you got to find it.
Cross your fingers. What was the last word?
Spit in your hat.
Spit in your hat.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a bunch of what would you call those? Like throw salt over your shoulder.
Superstitions.
Superstitions.
Yeah, but it was just
Old
it was
folk-
it was stories, folk
tales.
stories. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just old wives' tales.
Yeah. Of the three nails.
Yeah, the three nails on a door.
On a door. I mean,
So it was not a grimoire. It was not a spell book per se,
No,
so much
no.
as a.
well, but it had spells in it.
Sure,
That was
yeah.
part of the book.
Yeah.
But when I think about that book now, I think there's no way that book's in there. There's just no way. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not anti-Christian.
No,
it's
folklore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
folklore.
It's outside of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's-
Yeah.
I don't know. They've also removed things from their reading curriculum recently, having to do with story of Islam
Okay. Wow.
and other world religions
Yeah.
that they have just taken out of the elementary reading program because
Yeah.
somebody said they were uncomfortable.
They're comfortable.
Have they removed references to Christianity?
No.
We also have what's up with the flags? The last I heard with the flags in
They kind of came up with a pseudo compromise that they didn't remove them entirely, but they put them in some public spaces like cafeteria and the library could. But within teachers' classrooms, they're still prohibited.
no flags, not
Yeah.
only Old Glory or no Old Glory even.
You can have the Old Glory.
stars
you
and
can-
bars. I mean stars and stripes. Whoops.
Now, the Brothers Howdy Show and I attended Turner Ashby High School, named after a drunk whose only connection to this area was being killed by.
Oh, good. You're
by
not referring to
his
either
own
my brother
troops.
or I.
Oh, no, Turner Ashby. Sorry, no.
Dodged the bullet there.
Only
He
connection,
did.
But he
he
did.
did not, though. He did not. And his only connection to the area is that he died.
Yeah.
Drunkenly
And apparently he was
losing
pretty
yet another
dashing.
battle. Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard that.
He had a big feather in his cap.
Was there a Confederate flag like just hanging just inside the foyer of Turner Ashby
I
when
don't
we went
think
to?
so.
There-
I only remember the night. I remember the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But
night is still there.
But I don't remember. I remember,
I don't
there was the
remember
blue Virginia flag and then the American
Okay.
flag. I don't think we ever had a Confederate flag.
That was just everyone's trucks on the parking lot.
Well, you
with
know
the
what?
gun racks.
Can I tell you what though? That became a later thing. That I
Yeah.
mean, it was
Yeah.
not like as. So
Yeah.
I was in like in high school.
post-90s?
Yeah, in the early '90s through the that was not a big. So I graduated in 97.
Right.
And so that would be like, it was not that big of a deal to be flying the Confederate flag around. It really was the early 2000s that became like a,
It meant something more.
Yeah, it meant more.
Right,
So, yeah,
right.
it's
As
heritage.
libertarianism got a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
but
the word
in our
liberty
time,
used in
it
another
was not-
context.
It was like, I mean, I watched the Dukes of Hazzard and saw the
Sure.
Confederate flag
Yeah.
and didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought of anything of it. It didn't, it didn't mean what it means today. I in my mind, it's only in my mind.
Yeah, right.
But
So one of the things I like to ask is how people got to where they were. How did you get into education? Where did that start?
Well, actually, I think I'm one of the rare people that decided what I wanted to do when I was 14.
Ooh.
And I went ahead and did it.
You read a book in a library.
I like libraries, and I decided I wanted to be a librarian. Actually, I was going to be a Librarian of Congress.
Oh, okay.
And I decided that when I was 14. And when I was 16, I realized that, the Librarian of Congress at that time was always a historian, not a librarian, and was always male. And so I was like, I got to change that life plan.
Yeah.
And then I realized I like kids, so I went into school libraries, and that's what brought me to JMU, because the other option was Farmville, and I didn't even want to look at Farmville. I mean, I'm sure it's a nice place, but when I was 16, the idea of going to a place called Farmville,
It's also in the middle of nowhere.
where did you grow up at then?
I grew up in Northern Virginia in
Northern
Stafford
Virginia.
County.
Okay,
And
cool.
so I'm one of those Northern Virginia kids that came here to go to JMU and never saw a reason to go back to Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And JMU had an undergraduate program in library science at the time, so that got me into schools. And so I spent my whole career as a school librarian, but it was really a cool career because it went full circle. I mean, with so many things with technology changing. I mean, I actually started the first network in Harrisonburg City Schools.
Nice.
And so did IT work until that was overwhelming my library jobs. Like, come on, Harrisonburg, you got to hire somebody. And so they started building the tech staff there.
Right.
But I got that started. So I did a lot of technology work, and I worked in with the high school kids, and then I worked in middle school kids. So, the whole idea of how you research changed, and the tools that you use changed.
Awesome.
And then as I went, full circle, towards the end of my career, I found I was actually using less technology with the kids, because what they really needed was more connections with stories. So I'm also a storyteller.
Right.
And so I would do a lot of storytelling with kids at Skyline. And so, from going through my whole career with, working with technology, and I found it ironic that I had this old chalkboard that actually came out of a classroom in Ottobine when they were cleaning that out. And so I would often, use that to write stuff up on, and, sit down with the kids around me and, tell stories and recommend books and things like that. And so I would actually be, one of the more low-tech things that they would experience in their day.
Yeah. I am so interested in the way that technology has changed and is changing schools right now. I obviously, my brother is a tech. He's way more into it than I am. But I've been listening and reading things about the next thing now, which is like artificial intelligence. You wrote a book. But today I listened to a woman who was like, you don't even know how crazy the next 10 years are going to be. And every time I hear people say that, I wonder, it probably was similar to going from books to a computer. I don't know. What was that? You're saying you helped develop the first network, which is that's pretty radical compared to a.
Well, that's because I was mad at
decimal.
I was mad at the Reader's Guide to Periodical Literature, because if you ever had to use that to go get your magazine articles and then go through book after book after book, I'm like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah,
Sure enough, there was.
Search bar. Come on.
And so I got one station was like, oh, that's not enough. We got to figure out how to connect these together.
Yeah.
And then working with Dave Lineweaver, we came up with a network. And
Oh, that's so cool. That is amazing. You helped start the first network in Harrisonburg High School.
I did.
That's awesome.
And that's why Harrisonburg was so heavily Macintosh. The core was Windows, but all of the other stations were Macintosh because it was easy enough for a layperson with some computer ability to operate. And we had some wild times with that network.
I bet.
We had one night, and for some reason we had like 80 computers die in one night.
Oh, no.
They just one by one gray screened.
Sounds like a Macintosh.
And so we're on tech support, and first it was those colorful ones that
Oh
they
yeah,
had.
the candy Mac.
And the first thing I had to do was figure out how to reset them, and it was on page 14 of the manual where you found out about the paperclip that would restart it.
Yeah.
So I'm on upper level. They kept escalating me on Apple tech support, and guy said, "Do you know about the Apple Programmer's Reset Key?" And I'm like, "Do you mean the paperclip?" But then the bizarre thing was we got this phone call, and this is probably 10 o'clock at night that our group of us had stayed to try to figure out what to do with this. And this guy called, and he didn't identify himself. We just called him the Man in Black.
His name was Mac.
Steve.
He said, I think I have the patch for your network.
Was it a black turtleneck?
This is before FaceTime.
Okay.
He said, I will send you this if you will, sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Oh, wow.
Man.
And
It might have been Steve.
call me
somebody
Job.
coughed, and he realized I had him on speakerphone. He was like, everybody in that room. And I had this great intern that was 15, and he said, everybody in that room is going to have to sign. And the intern who was 15 couldn't, get out of here. Get out of here. And sure enough, the next day, he sent the patch for the network, and I have no idea who he was.
Wow.
That's
And the
cool.
patch wasn't a regular paperclip. It was that kind that kind of goes in the couple angles.
Yeah,
and
it was like
corner.
some major Band-Aids.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun times.
So where do you see it going? I mean, you're retired now, and what do you hope? Where do you think it'll end up?
I'm not sure where AI is going to fit in.
Sure.
And that would be the challenge, would be teaching kids how and when to use it. It's not going to go away.
Yeah. Right.
But how to use it ethically.
Yeah.
And how to disclose what has been created by AI and what has not.
Yeah. We're having a lot of conversation about that right now. It appears, and again, this changes so fast, but it appears that AI is going to be kind of it's going to be all around us. It already is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But it'll be much more. We as human beings will be much more engaged with AI as a partner, if you will. I know that there are already companies who are creating teams where they build AI as a part of a team to problem solve, to just figure out what the next steps might be, and how they acknowledge that team member is an interesting part. How a student gives a way to say, hey, I was helped by AI in creating whatever their product is, and what I have found is now we're questioning not necessarily how we do the things that we do and the products we create, but why we create them in the first place. And those conversations as an educator have gotten very existential.
Yeah,
because
and what is the appropriate use? And
Yeah,
how can we turn
yeah.
this around where computers can
Yeah.
do mundane things very well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have the computers do the mundane things,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and let us do the creative.
Right.
To
Right.
free up more time
Right.
for art and music and those things that really elevate life.
The craziness in my mind is that on my way here today, I was stopped at the stoplight on right is by JMU. I'm trying to think of I can't think of the name of the road, but on Main and there's and in the campus and
Like Maine and Grace.
Grace.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Grace
and
and Main.
on that corner, there are 10 different JMU students, and they're all looking down. Like no one is. People have hit the button.
Yeah.
But they're all on their phones and they're all looking down, and it's almost like you. I don't want to look up. I don't want. I don't want to talk to the person right next to me. Like when I see that group of young people, and they're all totally engaged in their phones, in an open area like that, it makes me think, oh, we are steps away from sticking that thing into our brain.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's it just doesn't seem that far away.
No, we've got wearables. We've got the wrist thing, the Fit.
It's
like sports watch thing. Right?
I don't think of the 15 people I saw today, anyone was saying. I mean, you don't have to talk to each other.
Or just
I
make
get that.
eye contact.
Yeah, but there's like, you get it out. I'm just waiting to cross the street, guys. I'm not paying attention.
I saw a solitary college student at an intersection. Staring at their phone, waiting for the pedestrian crossing signal to signal it was safe for them to go. There were
That's why they have the auditory.
There were no cars. Like they could have just crossed. There are no jaywalking laws on the books in Virginia, and like maybe I'm being rebellious
don't
here.
Spread that around.
It would have been perfectly safe for them to cross. There were no cars in the way, but they waited until they heard that auditory signal. And then they crossed without ever looking up from their phone.
Wow.
You don't know that kid's story, though, man. Maybe he was just like one thing away from being sent to prison for the rest of his life. Like, it's like he crosses that street when he's not supposed to. Maybe there are no jaywalking laws in Virginia, but maybe he just was like on the cusp of probation.
I think it's I worry that it's a reduction in individual
Sure.
thinking.
I'm just trying to look on the bright side.
Well, I'll throw out there too, though. There have been arguments of change where it's, where like, just the idea of reading itself is one of those things of like, that was a big change for people. And for them to be, everybody's reading all the time now. What, nobody's looking at each other in the eye anymore. This is, it may be an extension of that type of change.
Technology.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that like, it might be that this may just be another step in human development.
I have to catch myself because I never want to impugn the generation following mine or any of the generations following mine, and that seems to be such a trap that
it's very easy
established people fall into.
Yeah.
Particularly as you get older, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, are you
So
getting
it's
older?
dangerous, Like the last thing the world needs is another angry old white guy. So, one of my life's goals is to not become that.
Well, I have to confess that I read novels on my phone. I never thought I could, but enough public transit, and then my dog chews up hardback books.
That is ironic that you're a librarian and your dog's probably like just trying to get attention from you from that one thing he knows.
Oh, and so I would get the new books. I'd be the first one, and that dog would still get a hold of it, even if I had put it some. So I've been on. He's 40 years old. I've been on ebooks for 4 years now.
He's got his own
4 years. So when Marianne, my wife, she'll send me a book to listen to because I drive, and so she's like, "Here, listen to this book," and that's how we have like our book talks, because I'll listen to something she's read. She'll read it, and I'll listen to it.
Yeah, and both ways are perfectly valid forms of reading, and anybody who tells you otherwise is full of it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sandy's dog has a TikTok account where he's reviewing the flavors of new edition books versus second edition books and how fresh.
He does have pretty good taste.
Sandy,
I think I would trust that dog to pick what books could be in libraries.
Young
more
adult
than
novels are so dry. right.
Who is who's your favorite author right now?
My favorite author right now, I would have to say Jason Reynolds.
Jason Reynolds.
What style of literature?
He is a young adult author, and he is very realistic. He also has some really. He's a real reading advocate. Even though he did not read until he was 17.
Oh, wow.
And he will, talk honestly about there wasn't anything, in my library for me. And his gateway to reading was through hip hop.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
And so he's, just written some, so many compelling books. I'm thinking of one called Long Way Down, and that's a novel in verse about a guy whose brother has been killed, and he's going to get his brother's gun to revenge him because that's what you do.
Right.
But he's got 8 floors that he's got to go down on the elevator, and on each one of those 8 floors, he meets somebody.
Wow.
And it is one of the most powerful books.
Awesome. That's
Wow.
So one of my favorite things having kids is reading to them. I got to read to them, and we reread, of course, the little kid books, but then I got into the Percy Jackson series. Of course, we read all the Harry Potters. I mean, but those are all good books. They're good. They're fun.
Well, and the discussions that you can have,
Yes.
when you're reading with kids, and that's what I would
Yes.
say to anybody who's got a problem with, what their kids are reading. Sit down and read it with them. Have some, conversations, because kids will talk about things, about a character in a book that may mirror what's going on with them, but they can't say what's going on with them. But they can talk about that character in the book, and you can use it as a gateway.
Yeah, it's so sad because we stopped that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens. Like I said, I've got a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, and you just know it was like I don't.
What? I have 2 27-year-olds, and I read to them every night. Okay, I don't.
When we finished Harry Potter,
Yeah.
we did the 7th book,
Yeah.
and when we finished it, it was like.
End of an era.
That was
And
it.
yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was it because we got a 12 and a 15-year-old now. They're done.
Yeah.
They're not sitting in this room with us anymore.
Yeah, right.
They were already really antsy.
I'm gonna go get in the. I'm gonna get in the car. I'm driving out of here, Dad.
Yeah, they were ready.
Yeah.
And then but me and Mariana were both like, that's so sad because you'd hate
Yeah.
to let that go, but
Yeah.
you're like, well, it's over.
But
Yeah.
if they ever bring you a book to read, you sit down and read it.
Oh yes. Oh.
And
It's funny is that I don't want to call Oliver out completely here, but he does not read very much. If he reads at all, and I'm like, oh, I thought we read.
That
you know?
definitely can change that.
Yeah. It really wasn't until high school before I guess
Okay.
he's in high school now. Shoot.
You also, like when you're
We
in high
just
school,
started.
when you're in high school, you
yeah.
have a lot of assigned reading, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, okay, I read what I have to read. I don't want
there's not time
Yeah.
for recreational reading.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a smart teacher who makes that part of what their class time is or what their homework is you read something for fun and keep
Yeah.
that up, and that's just building habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow. Well, hey, thank you for your time, and thank you for this conversation. Oh, listen to that. Sounds like the
Last call.
last call here, Ruby.
Shutting this place down.
All right.
Wow. There you
Before
go.
we unplug, may we
Yes.
plug?
Yes, absolutely. Plug away.
Oh, November 15th.
What about November 15th?
Me and you?
What are we doing?
The Ides of November.
The Ides of November. We're going to be playing at the Friendly Fermenter.
Ooh.
A free show in the basement, acoustic, no electric instruments. A whole bunch of us. My wife will be playing the violin. Bruce Johnson will be on the mandolin, and a bunch of us are just going to be playing some acoustic music in that basement. So we'd love to see you there.
Yeah. If you haven't been to the Fermenter in a while and enjoy it, go. Go to the fermenter.
I know.
Yeah,
We're
we
having
spoke
a-
with the
Sean.
owner, Sean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Sean.
Super cool.
He's super, super.
It's a
fun guy to
great
be around.
space, and it's a local spot. It's small, but
And the
it's-
parking sucks.
Yeah, but
I was
that's
going to
okay.
ask, where do you park?
You don't.
You can currently.
You have to
can
sell
park-
your
they're
car on the
They're
street.
renovating the Wells Fargo Bank across the street, so currently you can park in that lot.
Okay.
Oh.
There is no signage that says no.
But you know what? That place is sweet.
It
It's
is.
It's a little basement escape, and it's a everybody knows your name kind of place.
And it's
But-
a small business, and a lot of small businesses are struggling right
Right.
now. So, every little bit helps. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend going soon.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow, that's like a plea.
Please do.
Please.
Please
go visit.
What you got?
Oh, I got a plug. Speaking of AI, tomorrow night, Wednesday the 23rd, we have our 1-year anniversary for Friendly City Fables.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. And taking a little deviation from our usual fantasy role-playing inspired game improv, we're doing cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
So
fun.
speaking
It's
of
where
that,
you wear sunglasses made out of screen porches.
sure, and tinfoil hats.
Yes.
A lot of tinfoil hats.
Awesome.
So yeah. I've been introducing the characters on Facebook through that page, and we're really excited about it. My character is sort of on that AI kind of level. She is not. She does live on this plane. She's a
Does she have a name?
yes. She was sort of.
Are you allowed to tell us
Yeah,
the
yeah,
name?
yeah.
Oh.
She's. I'm just trying to think of the best way to describe it. She's
Okay.
like a Swiss Army synthetic human, like a Swiss Army android.
Okay.
Designed to fix things,
Okay.
and her character is the Utilawinch 3000.
Utilawinch.
Utilawinch.
3,000.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That 3,000 is what tells you it's from the future.
ties it all together. I had
I
created
used
the
to be able to say
Utilawinch.
2,000.
way
Yeah, you
before
can't do
that.
that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I
good.
had come up with that idea for a while ago, but this seemed like the best way to really use it. So
Well, it sounds like a good home
Yeah.
for her.
yeah, we're excited. So it's at 7:30 tomorrow night. Future City Fables, a cyberpunk improv.
Sandy, you've been keeping a blog detailing some of the goings on in
Yes.
the Rockingham County Public School System.
Yes, because it's a twisted tale.
So we can link to that in our presentation
Absolutely.
of this
Thank
podcast. Absolutely.
What's
Thank
it
you.
called? Just some.
It's FreadomVA, freedom with FREADOM.
Okay.
You're also on the Facebooks, right? I feel like
I
I've
am.
seen a lot of posts from that.
Yeah, I'll share that, and throw in some nice pictures in between so that keeps the engagement up.
Oh gosh, your pictures are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Do you live in Bridgewater?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Because
Yeah.
your Wildwood Parks are like.
Yeah.
We had this whole conversation without making reference to your photography.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, I'm serious. So we just talked to
And
Sandy
part
Parks,
two.
and honest to goodness, there's a lot more going on here.
Wow.
It really is. Beautiful
Yeah.
photography.
Well, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, you could link to project367.com too. So for people who aren't
Yeah.
on Facebook, and
Yeah.
that's where I post pictures
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank
outside
you.
Facebook.
We'll do that.
All right.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And thanks to Ruby's Arcade and the historic Wine Brothers building in downtown Harrisonburg. When we all meet our maker floating on the fickle seas of fate and question what our humble existence begat, we will think back fondly on your transcendent generosity. And there's duck pin bowling, too.
They got a pool table too.
And Fireball.
That's right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Bingo is Life, a post-bingo Harrisonburg podcast, is brought to you by the Brothers How to Show and our friends at Ruby's Arcade in downtown Harrisonburg, Virginia. If you've enjoyed the show and feel it's worth spreading a little joy in this world, please tell just one person that you like this podcast. Word of mouth, more than any other form of promotion, is how creative works get noticed and sustain themselves. Thank you, Andrew Hickey, for that bit of wisdom, and thank you, listeners, for being part of the fun.